Recording in progress.
There will now be a moment for silent prayer or meditation. You may be seated, honorable members. Let me take this opportunity and welcome the Minister and as well as the Deputy Minister for Agriculture and Land Reform and Rural Development, as well as the ministers, both of them. I'm so sorry about that. Yes, you are welcome into the sitting, colleagues. We do have oral questions to economic cluster today. Before we proceed with the questions, I would like to take this opportunity and welcome you back from the recess that we've just had. This is the first sitting in the third quarter of the House. And accordingly, the rules in terms of the maintaining the decorum of this House shall apply in this sitting, in particular rule number 103. I am told that we don't have any notices of motions today, and accordingly, we shall then proceed to the order paper. In accordance with the order paper, we do have questions that are being posed by members to the ministers, and we'll start with the Minister of Agriculture to respond to the questions. And the first question is being asked by Honorable Modise to the Minister. If I may request Minister Steenhuisen to take the podium. Thank you very much, Minister. If you may respond to the question that has been posed by Honorable Modise, who has joined in on virtual platform. Upon completion of the Minister, will then afford him an opportunity to ask a supplementary question.
Thank you very much, Madam House Chair, and thank you very much to the colleagues. The President of the United States' imposition of a 30% tariff on South African agricultural goods from the 1st of August is expected to negatively impact on the country's agricultural sector, especially key industries like wine, nuts, citrus, grapes, and fruit juices. South Africa's competitiveness in relation to the above-mentioned products will be drastically eroded or reduced, especially given the lower tariffs of 10% imposed on South Africa's competitors in the United States market like Chile, Peru, and Australia. South Africa's export volumes to the US and its market share are expected to decrease, and there may well be job losses in the affected subsectors, as there is potential that they may scale down their operations. The Honourable Member Modise asked what measures are being placed to mitigate the effects of these tariffs. Well, the department is continuing to negotiate and engage with Minister Tau's department and Minister Lamola's department in order to engage with the United States to secure a deal that would see the tariffs being reduced, while at the same time continuing with our diversification efforts to find alternative markets for South African agricultural products in Asia, the Middle East, and other regions within the African continent. Protocols to the market access of 5 stone fruit items to the People's Republic of China have also been approved. It's obviously important that we, at the same time as we continue to negotiate with the United States of America, that we do use the opportunity to diversify South Africa's offering in other parts of the world. South Africa's farmers and farm workers are amongst the best in the world, and their productivity and products are the envy of their peers internationally. South Africa's agricultural sector offers well-priced, excellent quality agricultural goods that are the rivals of the world. And I have no doubt that whatever we have been losing out to the United States of America, that we will be able to find other markets for those as we seek to diversify. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. I now offered Honorable Modise an opportunity to ask a supplementary question to the Minister. Over to you, Honorable Modise.
Thank you so much, Chairperson. And yeah, indeed, the recess was good. The body is a bit refreshed. I want to take the opportunity to thank Minister Steenhuisen for the response to the question posed. And just, Minister, I'm not sure if I'm throwing under the bus, but I just want to check if we'll ever see any further exploration of trade relations with BRICS and other African countries to assist us in the long run of the bullying that we are facing from the United States around the tariff issues. Thank you so much, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Modise. Over to you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, House Chair, and through you, thank you to the Honourable Modise for the follow-up question. Yes, absolutely. I think there is an opportunity for us to leverage our relationships with other countries and trading blocs with which we belong. And that is exactly why we have been reaching out, particularly to expanding our operations in China, and we'll travail some of those and some of the other questions earlier. But I do also think that, as President Lula has indicated in the last 24 hours, that it is correct that BRICS countries unite to see how we can displace perhaps some of the market share that both of our countries have lost within the BRICS trading system. We have products to sell, and we will be looking for customers all over the world, whether it's on the continent or abroad. And as I said, I think we've got a great product to sell, and I think that South Africans' goods will find their way into those markets. I must, however, also say that it has been interesting over the course of the last fortnight to see the upward pressure from the American consumers and producers, who have indicated very clearly to their government in Washington that the impact of these tariffs, particularly on agricultural goods like those that come from South Africa, will start to have an impact on food inflation prices, restaurant prices, as well as the cost of goods, and also the potential to dramatically curtail the volume and quality of goods and services from the agricultural sector for American consumers. It'll obviously be interesting to see how this upward pressure develops, but that is also compounded by the fact that America has had an outbreak of greening, which is a citrus disease in Florida, which has affected the crop this year. And of course, with the constraints with tariffs coming in from other countries, this is going to put tremendous pressure on their juicing ability to be able to provide orange juice, their juicing facilities. And to my mind, it would make far greater sense for them to look at alleviating the tariffs, particularly on agricultural goods, in order to ensure that we're able to fill the gap in the market, given the fact that we are counter-seasonal to their own domestic production. And as I said, the price and quality is unsurpassed. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Before we proceed to the next question, honorable members, may I take this opportunity and welcome Honorable Lungile Precious Mhlogo from KZN, who has joined us, replacing our late member of the MKP party. Thank you very much. The next follow-up question is from Honorable Boshoff, who has also joined on virtual platform.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and good afternoon to the Minister. Chair, with your permission, could I switch off my video? We are currently experiencing load shedding or fault finding. I'm not quite sure. We haven't been with electricity for the past week, so just for bandwidth purposes. Thank you. Minister, opening new markets is a vital step in protecting our farmers from the impact of these tariffs. And you rightly said that you have expanded your take to assist us. And I would like to know from you, could you expand on how your department is ensuring that particularly the smallholder farmers and the emerging exporters, particularly in our rural areas, are equipped to take advantage of these opportunities, and whether there are any targeted support programs to assist them to meet the export standards and volumes required by these international markets. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Boshoff. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, House Chair, and may I use the opportunity to welcome the Honourable Member from my home province in KwaZulu-Natal, and I look forward to engaging with her in this House. Practically, we are building capability at a farm level as well as a firm level, securing and maintaining protocols that would look to unlock markets, and 3, reducing the structural barriers that keep emerging exporters out. First of all, on capability. This year, we will capacitate 300 smallholder farmers in agricultural marketing, with quarterly targets intended to ensure a steady delivery: 50 in Q1, 100 in Q2, 100 in Q3, 50 in Q4. Last year, we exceeded the 300 target and reached 313, showing that the pipeline does work and is real. We're also reconfiguring blended finance schemes and instruments such as Mafisa and the broader schemes to better match the needs of smallholder farmers, and strengthening extension services so producers can meet the quality and compliance requirements tied to export orders. In parallel, we're also developing digital platforms to improve information sharing, coordination, and market access for emerging exporters. We also have a program in conjunction with the government of Japan, which teaches smallholder farmers about producing for market, so moving beyond subsistence production and being able to produce. And this includes issues like being able to assist them get GAP accreditation, so they can meet the global GAP requirements that will allow them to make markets more accessible. One of the bigger problems with smaller scale farmer access to international markets has been quality and quantity. Often when big orders are required to be fulfilled, it's very difficult for smallholders on their own to do it. What the department is looking at doing is finding ways to aggregate smallholder producers producing the same type and quality and of agricultural products, and to aggregate them together in order to better meet the quantity requirements of both local and international markets. I thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is from Honorable Mampuru. Over to you, Honorable Mampuru. He is not with us. We'll then proceed to... Yes, Honorable Harip.
Sorry, the question has been allocated to me.
Honorable Harip, I've not received any information that the question has now been referred to you. Now, in the absence of that, we'll then have to proceed to the next speaker on my list, Honorable Mukwena, to make a follow-up question.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good evening or good afternoon, Minister. Given that the 30% tariffs will directly raise the cost of South African exports into the US markets, can the Minister please confirm which specific commodities have been affected by this since the 1st of August 2025? And if he has any indication of the projected losses of jobs in those affected areas? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Mukwena.
House Chair.
You, Honourable Minister.
House Chair, thank you very much. I did list the products that are affected particularly. Although our exposure to the US markets is small, it is deeply concentrated. And the sectors most affected are citrus, table grapes, nuts, wine, and fruit juices. Obviously, we haven't been able to measure impact yet because we're currently in the process of what has been probably one of the better citrus seasons. And obviously, we'll have to measure those in the next quarter to see what the real impact has been on the of the new tariff regime on us. I would, however, say that we are going to have to learn to navigate these seas, because there's nothing we can do around domestic politics in the United States of America. And it's very clear from the approach by the White House that they're moving beyond the normal trade conventions. They're moving outside of organizations like the World Trade Organization, and that we're starting to see a new reset in the way in which trade is used not only for commercial purposes, but also for certain domestic outcomes that the American administration would like to see. And I think it's evidence in the 50% tariff that's been slapped on India for their petrochemical and oil and gas deals with Russia. And we've seen as well a 50% tariff slapped on Brazil because of a domestic court case that involves a prosecution of their former president. So we're moving into a new era, it seems, and we can't be sailors that curse the sea. We must learn to navigate these new waters in order to benefit South Africa. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. That concludes the follow-up questions on the first question, which then takes us to the next question, question number 213, from Honourable Pinar, who has asked the Minister that with regards to the international agricultural trade agreements or the market access protocol, since you took office, how many of them that you have concluded, and how have they advanced the South Africa's export position? Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam House Chair, and thank you to the Honourable Member for the question. The following protocols have been signed. A protocol between the Department of Agriculture and the People's Republic and the General Administration of Customs of the People's Republic of China on inspection, quarantine, and sanitation requirements for dairy products exported from the Republic of South Africa to the People's Republic of China. A protocol between the Department of Agriculture and of the Republic of South Africa and the General Administration of Customs of the People's Republic of China for greasy wool to be exported from the Republic of South Africa into the People's Republic of China. A MOU between the Department of Agriculture and of the Republic of South Africa and the General Administration and Customs of the People's Republic of China in cooperation in the prevention and control of foot and mouth disease. The export trade agreements with South Africa have been advanced as follows. The export of wool to the People's Republic of China remains unhindered. At this stage, there is still processes for the dairy protocol to be completed before that trade can happen. For instance, the People's Republic of China will be undertaking a study review in South Africa in visiting a number of dairies to see how the program works. We've also signed agreements for avocados to China, avocados to Japan and India, maize to Japan and India, table grapes to the Philippines and Vietnam, and citrus to Vietnam. These horticultural products now have access to these Southeast Asian markets. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Minister. Is there a supplementary question, Honourable Pina? Yes.
Thank you, Chairperson. Dankie, agbare Minister, vir uw teenwoordigheid hier vandag. Minister, what can the agriculture sector expect going forward with regard to trade, especially on the African continent that has been neglected for many years? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Pina. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you to the Honourable Member for the follow-up question. What can they expect? A vigorous and focused marketing drive for our agricultural products and other markets, both continentally and around the world. Africa is a huge growth potential. Our neighbouring countries remain some of our largest agricultural exports from South Africa, but there's obviously huge potential across the continent. There have been a number of constraints in the ability to be able to move agricultural products around the continent, and this is largely driven by the poor quality and lack of linkages of infrastructure that would allow us to be able to move. these products into other countries. By way of example, when I was in Paris earlier this year, the World Food Programme indicated that it is currently cheaper for them to import maize from Mexico into the Democratic Republic of Congo than it is for us to move it from Zambia or, for instance, South Africa. And that's largely as a result of the inability to be able to move goods and services around efficiently and effectively. And that is why the development of corridors has been identified in the Continental African Agricultural Development Plan, CADAP, its initiatives on the continent to be able to improve the movement of agricultural goods around Africa. The corridor developments that we've seen in the Lobito corridor, which are going to dramatically improve the ability of those countries to move goods and services, I think provides a very good model for other corridors that we should be exploring on the African continent. One of the other constraints is the finalization of the African Continental Free Trade Agreement. There remain, despite this agreement, a number of barriers and tariffs that prevent us from being able to land goods in other countries. And Minister Tau and his department are currently engaged in trying to examine why some of these tariffs and barriers still exist when this African Continental Free Trade Agreement requires to be domesticated into law in the signatory countries. I think once that is done, it will help us particularly open up on things like wine, apples, and other agricultural goods into countries further than just our SADC trading partners into the continent. And we look forward to exploiting those markets. I'm informed by the South African wine sector that Africa remains one of their largest growth areas in terms of product development and customers. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. We are now taking the follow-up question that is posed by Honourable Dlangisa Notata. Over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good afternoon, Honourable Minister. Thank you for your responses, but I still want to know how does these trade agreements assist the government in transforming the agricultural sector and developing small-scale farmers? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Dlangisa. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much to the Honourable Member for the follow-up question. Well, obviously, the more demand we have for South African products, the more opportunities we have to grow the supply space in the country. So when we have markets available and open in other countries, it creates a system where we can do guaranteed uptakes. One of the problems that we've had in the development of smallholder farmers in the past and using past models is the problem that the equipment and seeds and everything are provided to assist the extension services there, but what has been lacking is the market. And that if we're going to be successful in assisting smallholder farmers to move beyond being smallholder farmers to being and then be able to enter the commercial export space, we've got to do a number of things around aggregation, around quality, but also ensuring that we provide opportunities for market access that makes their operations viable, profitable, and sustainable in the longer term. It does not help the department to have to go back every year and give the same beneficiaries, the same seeds, the same implements each year. What you want to do is to be able to provide the assistance and then watch and support and then hopefully get them standing on their own feet and linking them with markets, whether they are domestic markets or international markets, and then being able to move on and help the next set of beneficiaries. There's no end of small-scale farmers and smallholder farmers who need the department's assistance. But currently, if we're having to go back every single year and assist the same people with the same things we'd given the year before, it renders it, I believe, an unsustainable situation going forward. Market access is going to be absolutely fundamental to assisting small-scale and smallholder farmers from being able to be part of these export value chains. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honourable Minister. I'm now taking the follow-up question from Honourable Kennedy.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Good afternoon, Honourable Minister. Minister, which mechanisms did you use in measuring the success of these protocols. That is, for an example, an increase in export volume, value, market diversification, producer earnings. Could you just please provide further details? Thank you.
Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and thank you to the member for the follow-up question. We use a variety of metrics and includes all the ones you've already mentioned. But I think the metrics that matter the most are the ones that were released today, and that was our GDP figures for the country. Agriculture has contributed 0.1%, but 0.3% sustained growth over the period, which is the most it has been since 2023. And I think that agriculture's contribution to the greater economic growth, and particularly the job sector, is the measurement that I'm going to be using to measure the most success. The more people we get employed, the more farmers are successful. Those are the metrics that we should be looking at going forward, because behind those statistics are farmers and farm workers who've benefited from the interventions of government in order to improve their ability to farm, but also the ability to be able to sell and market their products. And I'm very pleased with this times GDP figures for agriculture particularly. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The next follow-up question is coming from Honourable Peter from the Eastern Cape.
A good day, Honourable Minister. Honourable Minister, while we welcome the progress your department has made in concluding international agricultural trade agreements and market access protocols, we cannot ignore the reality that these opportunities have historically favoured established commercial farmers at the expense of inclusivity. If these agreements are to drive real transformation, they must serve as a vehicle to correct structural imbalances in our agricultural economy. What specific measures will you put in place to ensure that emerging Black farmers, and particularly those in Eastern Cape, are meaningfully included in and benefit from these trade agreements and market access opportunities? Lastly, has your department thought about committing to introduce specific quotas set aside or procurement preferences through government export promotion programs targeted at uplifting emerging Black farmers with clear indicators and timelines to measure progress? I thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Peter. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much. The very heart of the Agriculture and Agro-Processing Master Plan, which is the adopted sectoral plan for agriculture, has at the very heart of it the improvement and upliftment of small-scale and smallholder farmers, including those who've been previously excluded from opportunities. This is done through the value chain roundtables, which brings together all players within the sector with an imperative as part of the success of measuring the implementation of the AMP, the number of smallholder producers and small-scale farmers that are participating. Now, there have been a variety of different results in terms of the success. Some areas have been much more successful than others. Citrus, by way of example, is a very good example where the level of participation from smallholder farmers has increased dramatically now to between 20 and 30%. And that's as a result of deliberate implementation of the Agricultural and Agro-Processing Master Plan's precepts, which indicate that there has to be assistance. Also, in each and every one of these sectors, there are a number of trusts in which levies are collected from all participants in that sector. A certain portion of those levies collected are set aside to ensure that it goes towards assisting small-scale farmers and those who have been previously excluded from opportunities. The country already has set aside quotas for export to particularly countries like the European Union. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Now we're going to the next question, which is question number 190, asked by Honourable Stoller from the Northwest about the blended finance scheme. Over to you, Minister.
Yes, it has increased the access to of black producers in agriculture. Since October 2022 to the 30th of June 2025, the Industrial Development Corporation has supported 35 black producers and processors to the tune of 2.9 billion rand, of which 762 million is made up of grant funding from the department. The Land Bank of South Africa has since November 2022 to June 2025 supported 408 transactions to the total tune of 3.1 billion, of which 1.6 billion is the grant format from the department. And ABSA has since May 2024 to June 2025 supported 9 producers to the total tune of 311.8 million, of which 81.8 million is the grant component. These approvals granted would not have been possible without the grant contribution from the department. Therefore, access to affordable finance was enabled. But it doesn't end there, because one of the biggest problems that we face in the agricultural sector is a shortage of patient capital to particularly assist small startup farmers and those wishing to move and transition from being a small-scale farmer to being a commercial farmer. In our past, we had something called the Agricultural Credit Board, which is largely credited with having been able to move farmers from being smaller farmers into being far more commercial and in some instances, mega farmers. One of the focuses of the department is looking at expanding the pool of patient capital. Agricultural financing requires a very different approach to the way in which we finance other businesses and startups. Agriculture has a far longer runway before you start to see returns. There's a very heavy input cost and ploughing cost and sowing cost upfront, a large labor cost upfront, and then you of course have to wait until those crops are ready for harvest, and then you're also at the mercy of the pricing. Therefore, what is required in the agricultural space is a greater available pool of patient capital for farmers that actually understands that the runway does need to be longer. It's not like financing a spaza shop, for instance, where from day one you're selling products and getting income. Agriculture, you can go upwards of a year, sometimes more, before you start to see products, and that needs to be reinvested in the following season. And so we're working together with international organizations, the FAO, IFAD, and others, to look at how we could use the land bank as a landing point for international assistance with improving the greater pool of this patient capital. The answer to part B of the question is, of the 452 approved proposals by the 3 participating institutions, that's the IDC, ABSA, and the Land Bank, 2 transactions supported the agro-processing stratified level in the value chain, while 27 transactions were granted through the Agro-Energy Fund to input in both production and agro-processing activities. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question comes from Honorable Sithole, who's on the visual platform. Over to you, ma'am.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and good afternoon to your good self and the honorable members on the House. And thank you very much, Honorable Minister, for your response. My other question is asked, does the department have a program for continued assistance and monitoring of Black producers after they have received the funding from the blended finance scheme? Thank you very much.
Over to you, Minister.
Thank you. The primary focus of that responsibility rests at the provincial level. However, the Department of Agriculture, as the bulk provider of the funding that is granted to provinces in order to ensure these projects are rolled out, is setting out a new program of being able to monitor the effectiveness and efficiency of these programs and to see what has happened to the final beneficiaries in many of these instances. Again, the story is often a sad one where the department provides the support, we go out, we provide the money, the provinces pitch the programs, they're implemented, and a few years later, the pigsties are empty, the chicken runs are destroyed, and the local organization has fallen out with each other. This is what I talk about when we speak about viable, sustainable, and profitable. When we're going to spend public money on assisting farmers, that we need to make sure we're getting value for that money as well, and that ultimately that money that we're investing does contribute to food security and economic growth, as well as providing a way of living for those who are involved in those projects. What we will also be looking at doing is looking at, rather than giving an annual tranche downwards, doing quarterly tranching, which will then ensure that we're able to monitor more effectively programs and projects, and realize that where we have problems sooner, rather than waiting for the end of the year, where you've provided the money at the beginning of the year, it either hasn't been spent or it's been wasted, and where it could have gone to another project, which would have had far better results. But again, assessing each project through the lenses of being viable, sustainable, and profitable going forward. And again, it comes back as well to that important point of making sure that we have market linkages for our farmers to be able to ensure that these projects can be viable. And that's done through uptake agreements, as well as a collaboration and aggregation of the products and produce of the sector. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next question comes from Honorable Pinar, the delegate of Limpopo.
Dankie, voorsitter. Minister, taking into consideration the success you've had in affordable finance, especially for young and upcoming farmers, getting into the market, whether locally or internationally, remains a consistent hurdle. What is your department doing to alleviate that hurdle? Dankie, voorsitter.
Over to you.
Thank you, House Chairperson. We're reviewing the Agricultural Products Market, the Marketing of Agricultural Products Act to modernize market rules, and implementing the Agriculture and Agro-Processing Master Plan to integrate new entrants into formal value chains via the commodity table roundtables that I've spoken about already, and coordinating public-private support to help producers meet the standards and volumes. We marry this enterprise finance with a blended finance scheme, and we have a target of over 100 producers supported, and the Agri-BEE Fund, which co-finances equity participation and market processing infrastructure, both designed to move beneficiaries from producing into value adding and ensuring compliant market channels. Finally, we work through our public entities to clear technical bottlenecks that occur. The National Agricultural Marketing Council on the market development, and the PPECB, the Perishable Products Export Control Board, on export compliance and cold chain integrity, so that trained enterprises can actually ship into domestic retail as well as export routes. I thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next question comes from Honorable Muntwedi, the delegate from Northwest.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much, Chair. Minister, in your response to question 188 by Honorable Modise, you mentioned that you are reviewing the blended finance and the Agri-BEE so that they must meet the needs of smallholder farmers. That statement is welcomed because farmers, even today, are still struggling to meet some of the requirements imposed on some of this program. Now, Minister, the program, when it was launched in some 3 years ago, it was mentioned that there's going to be pre-funding support that goes with the land bank blended finance in particular. Now, I want to know, Minister, how is that pre-funding support accessed? Because farmers to date, including your department, including the land bank, are not aware on how is the pre-funding support accessed for farmers to participate in this program. And I'm raising this because of challenges that mentors, you have a history of mentors in your department that have continued to rip off farmers benefiting more than actual farmers. So if the pre-funding support can come into place, it will ensure that farmers get to maximally benefit out of this program. How do you access that pre-funding support for this program? Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Mdweli, the Minister can take over.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the Honourable Montwedi. It's nice to see him in a different house. but nonetheless still as exercised with agriculture as he's been in the past. We're currently doing a review of all of the finance schemes because it has certainly become clear that what we've been doing in the past has not necessarily always had the best results. And that is why projects like Mafisa, CASP, Elima, Letsema, and others are being assessed, precisely to address some of the shortcomings that the Honourable Montwedi has indicated. One of the big obstacles is the lack, in many instances, of security or collateral that commercial banks and the land bank require for farmers to be able to access the type of support that they need. And obviously we have some views on how we could go about doing that, but that's a matter which we will be in discussion with Minister Nyonso about going forward. But we hope to be able to, in the short to medium term, unveil a package of financing schemes after having reviewed where some have worked and some others have not worked, that will include from pre to post support in terms of financing options. And again, improving the lake of patient capital. And I look forward to be able to come back to this House once that process is completed to take the House through either through a debate or a ministerial intervention to be able to take through what the new financing models are going to look like and how we better ensure that they are tailor-made to suit the needs of farmers. By way of example, and I'm sure Honourable Montwedi is alive to this fact, is that one of the impediments to financing is that you may not have another job. Now, many of our small-scale farmers can't afford to give up their existing job because that's what's paying the bills on the farm. The money they want to access from the bank is to invest in the capital required and the input costs required. And I think it is a bit of an unfair impediment to being able to access that type of finance because for many that is the only income that's going to help pay wages and deal with some of the overheads in the long term. So that's also just one of the issues that we're looking at in the wider variety of packages. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. The next follow-up question comes from Honourable Van den Berg, the Delegate of the Northern Cape.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, given the discriminatory nature of the blended finance scheme, can white prospective young males access the blended finance scheme as a majority shareholder of an agricultural production unit? And if not, how can these talented young men born in the new South Africa that does not come from a rich family like 99% of the white population, not coming from a rich family, enter into the agricultural sector if this scheme is not accessible to them? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Van den Berg. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you. The blended finance scheme was developed precisely to address some of the imbalances that were present in the agricultural space that had prevented the access of those who were discriminated against both legislatively and politically. And that was why the scheme was developed. Many farmers previously were able to benefit very generously from the Agriculture Credit Board. That being said, however, we are looking at a variety of other funding schemes that would look at assisting anybody, regardless of race or geography, provided they pass a means test to be able to access some of the products. Already the Agro Energy Fund, where the department provides a blended finance scheme to allow small scale and medium farmers and family farmers to be able to move to more sustainable energy solutions for their farms, does not have a race threshold, but has a means threshold, and ensures that those people are able to get that support. However, we cannot deny, and when we look at and we read the work of Wandile Seshlobo and Johan Kirsten in A Country of Two Agricultures and their latest book, The Trouble with Agriculture, we still have a sector that remains largely imbalanced towards those who were able to benefit from opportunities in the past that others have not been able to benefit from. And therefore, there has to be a determined effort by all of us to ensure that we move towards a situation where we bring everybody to the same starting point. One of the goals in the agricultural sector is not to create an equality of outcome, but to create an equality of opportunity. And that is going to mean that we do have to intervene in some sectors and some industries to be able to improve the participation rates of those who were previously denied access to banking, to credit, and the like. But nonetheless, we are moving towards, I believe, a situation where there will be products available to everybody in the agricultural space. But in the meantime, the blended finance scheme remains biased towards addressing those historical imbalances. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next question now, we're going to question 202, asked by Honorable Mutwedi from the Northwest. 202, that was shortage of veterinarians. Over to you.
Thank you. In response to A, the department is responsible for the implementation of the compulsory community service program, through which approximately 150 veterinarians are deployed annually across the country. In addition, the department provides bursaries to veterinary students and continues to collaborate with the University of Pretoria to increase graduate output. The department also works very closely with the South African Veterinary Council, which has recently engaged in reciprocity agreements to enable the registration of some internationally trained veterinarians, and which makes them then eligible as part of the CCS program. Furthermore, measures to improve conditions of service are being pursued to strengthen the recruitment and retention of state veterinarians. As of June 2025, the University of the Free State is advancing plans to establish a new fully accredited Faculty of Veterinary Science, including a Bachelor of Veterinary Science, BVSC degree, and a veterinary teaching hospital a teaching hospital at the University of the Free State. This will become the second veterinary training facility in South Africa, and we believe that it will leverage the UFS's Paradise Experimental Farm for hands-on training, particularly in the production, animal systems, and disease management. We're also looking at measures to improve the conditions of service and ensure that we are able to retain talent. A large part of the problem is not the production of veterinarians, it's the retention of them in South Africa, precisely because they are receiving some of the best veterinary training in the world, which makes them highly marketable in other countries and vulnerable to specific skills extraction schemes that other countries use in order to beat the shortages that they are having. Veterinary shortages in South Africa are similar to those in our peer countries, Brazil, India, and other countries in South America. But the department is obviously will do everything we can to try and address this particular problem. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question comes from Honorable Mutwedi.
Thank you very much, Chairperson. Minister, South Africa has got the highest number in terms of shortages of veterinarians as opposed to the international standard. Now, Pretoria University remains the only university institution offering the Bachelor of Veterinary Science qualification. And as part of resuscitating agricultural colleges, Minister, what steps or interventions have you taken to ensure that agricultural colleges can come into this space and start offering qualifications that will assist in dealing with animal diseases like your foot and mouth disease and all of this? Thank you very much.
Honorable Mutwedi, over to you, Minister.
Thank you. I do think it is worth pointing out, see, this is the National Council of Provinces, that Schedules 4 and 5 of the Constitution divide functions between the various spheres. Veterinary services, excluding regulation of the profession, is listed as a Schedule 5 Part A competence, which means it falls under the exclusive ambit of provincial responsibility. the national department has a concurrent function for the regulation of the veterinary profession. Provinces bear the responsibility, therefore, for the hiring and deploying of state veterinarians, which has obviously led to a capacity gap, particularly in poorer provinces. Now, national government is often blamed for the weaknesses in delivery, but legally the competence does exist at a provincial level. However, the national department can't sit on its hands because, as we've seen, the shortage of veterinary professionals means that we are vulnerable to outbreaks of animal diseases, whether it is foot and mouth disease and brucellosis. And therefore, as I say, we've been engaging with the UFS to get another campus. Agricultural colleges currently remain in a Cinderella status because we are awaiting a memorandum of understanding to be signed with the Department of Higher Education and Training. We had made significant progress under the former minister. There's now a new minister, and we're hoping to meet to engage them. The agricultural colleges, although not able to offer veterinary qualifications, will be able to become a source of study and opportunity for us to train animal health technicians and those in the livestock space who will be able to assist us meet some of the shortages. Not everything needs to be administered or dealt with by a vet, but what you do need to do is to have the experience and a large group of experienced people that are able to understand livestock management and livestock health. And I think that the agricultural colleges could well fill a gap there. But as we know, currently, without the memorandum signed, it is very difficult for students at agricultural colleges to access the type of student funding that is available through NSFAS for students at other higher education institutes. And that is the situation that we're in the process of remedying. The department has only recently now been taking responsibility for those agricultural colleges. And we look forward to being able to restore, in some instances, many of them that have been significantly neglected over the course of the last 20 years. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question is to you, Honorable Mabilo from the Northern Cape. Honorable Mabilo, the next follow-up question.
No, thank you very much, Chair of the session. Good afternoon, Honorable Minister. Follow-up question. Thank you, Minister, for your response. Oh, where is it now? Okay. Okay. Oh, man. Can it pass? Can it pass? I'll come for follow-up, please.
All right, Honorable Mabilo. Can Honorable Bishop on a visual platform please take the question? Honorable Bishop on the visual platform.
Thank you very much, Chair. Minister, thank you for the decisive steps you've taken securing vaccines and convening the FMD in Durban and reforming CCS placements, and then also expanding paraveterinary capacity.
Honorable, I want to listen to the member so that I can understand whether he's in line with the questions.
Thank you. Shall I start from the beginning? Did you capture that?
Yeah, we can start from the beginning.
Okay, thank you very much. Minister, thank you for the decisive steps you've taken securing vaccines, convening the FMD in Durban, reforming CCS placements, and expanding paraveterinary capacity. For the record, could you then update the House on the timeline you and your department have decided upon to reduce the state veterinary vacancy rate from about 45% toward below 20%? And when will the National Vaccine Bank and regionalization framework be fully operational? Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Boshoff, over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, and thank you to the Honourable Boshoff for the question. Obviously, whilst we have been able to secure vaccines, these come from Botswana, the Botswana Vaccine Institute. South Africa lost its capacity to produce foot and mouth disease vaccines in around 2013 with the decline at Onderstepoort, which has, I think, been a matter of great public debate. We're in the process of restoring facilities at OBP and working together with the Agricultural Research Council. We hope to be able to have a homegrown vaccine in production by the end of the first quarter next year. In terms of regionalization, the department has recently taken on the services of Dr. Emily Mogajane, a veterinary practitioner who used to work for the department with extensive experience, and she is leading the process within the newly established biosecurity unit to be able to deal with the regionalization going forward. The veterinary vacancy rate is going to be something that I believe would require a more medium-term approach to, given the lead time that it takes to be able to see graduates coming through. But we hope in the short term to be able to staunch the bleeding by ensuring that we improve conditions of service that see many of our qualified veterinarians leaving our shores for other areas. In terms of a vaccine bank, the red meat sector itself intends to build a vaccine bank that would be managed and controlled by the Department of Agriculture, bearing in mind that FMD vaccines remain a restricted use item and have to be a controlled substance. But for the very first time, we're piloting a project where the private facilities are able to procure vaccines under management of the department and place orders. What this will mean is it frees up more vaccines for the state to acquire, which can be used in our communal areas for vaccination programs, as well as in amongst our smallholder farmers who may not necessarily be able to afford these vaccines going forward. We've commenced with vaccination programs in communal areas in the Northwest Province in Mpumalanga and KwaZulu-Natal. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. All right.
Thank you, House Chair. I rise on Rule 46, which relates to the movement in the chamber. And although it's been corrected now, I do want to point out that the rule specifically states that a delegate may not stand in the passages of the House while there's a sitting carrying on, because it is distracting to the Minister, but also to the rest of the members here involved. So I do urge members to adhere to the rules. Thank you, House Chair.
All right, thank you, Honourable Ryder, for the point of order. It is sustained. And then, members, please let us restrict the movement so that we don't disrupt the House. Also, not talk to each other. In particular, what is very important, we must welcome our new members as well. We must not expose them to our ill discipline in the House. Honourable Mkwena, for that matter. All right, over to you.
I think I'm due a question from somebody.
No, you have done a question.
Yeah.
All right, then the next one must be Honourable Farmer.
The joiners, Chair.
Yeah, the Honourable Farmer, over to you.
Thank you, Chairperson. Good day to you, Minister. Honourable Minister, given the shortage of state veterinarians, especially in rural provinces, what immediate incentives such as bursaries, rural allowances, or compulsory community service are being considered to attract young graduates into public veterinarian services? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Farmer. Over to you, Minister.
Thanks. I think I answered the majority of that question in response to the first question about what we're doing around improving conditions of service, pay, transport allowances and the like, as well as the strengthening and recruitment of state veterinarians. Obviously, the problem, as I've said, is not attracting those into it. It's the retention of those veterinarians who often able to find very, very lucrative employment in other countries around the world. And so we're obviously pursuing an opportunity there. What are we doing in the meantime to deal with some of the shortages? We're obviously using public-private partnerships with private veterinarians in provinces where we have a shortage of state vets, and recruiting them to be able to step in and assist, particularly when we have foot and mouth incidences. And I think the response that's been that we've received from many, many private veterinarians is really impressive. And I think we wouldn't be able to be doing what we're doing if it hadn't been for the partnership in many instances between private vets and those vets. The other thing that we're doing is trying to recruit more students, not only to study veterinarian, study towards veterinary qualifications, but specific, those around livestock and the like. We've got plenty of vets who are very good with dogs and cats and goldfish and parrots. What we want is more veterinarians that are involved with sheep, goats, and other livestock, and to be able to specialize in those. Obviously, it's very lucrative, and any of you who have got a pet that's had to take it to a vet would know that it's an expensive business, and therefore makes it very lucrative to run practices that do domestic animals. But the greater need that we have in South Africa is going to be in the livestock sector, particularly as we embark upon a mass vaccination program across the country to move to a status of FMD free with vaccination, and ultimately then chart the pathway forward as the foot and mouth disease in Durban decided to becoming foot and mouth free without vaccination, which a status that Brazil has just this year, after an 8-year program, been able to achieve. And I think that our peer countries in the global south are able, and particularly those in South America, are able to demonstrate very, very clearly to us the way that we need to be able to go if we're going to get on top of foot and mouth disease and other animal diseases in the country. From our side as well, it's also about making sure you have enough vaccines. And that's why we've been able to spend so much money in acquiring new freeze dryers and new facilities for Unterstützung biological products, so they're able to meet the needs of a variety of animal diseases outside of just foot and mouth disease. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question will be the very, very last shot of Honorable Mabilo. Over to you, sir.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Apologies to the Chief Whip and members.
Order, please. Let's hear Honorable Mabilo.
Apologies, Chair. Honorable Minister. Thank you, Honorable Minister. Veterinary sciences is not part of the popular studies in our country, and this might have an influence on the shortage of veterinaries. The question is, does the department have any intention of meeting with higher education to find ways of improving the situation? Thank you, Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Mabilo.
Yeah, thank you. I think as I've already indicated, and thanks to the Honourable Mabilo for the question, we're working very closely with the University of Pretoria as well as the University of the Free State and another university as well, which we're involved in negotiations with, to look at being able to provide the type of qualifications that we need to get accredited so that we can have the students being able to take advantage of that. Again, the negotiation with the Department of Higher Education and Training is around the agricultural colleges, so we can get them accredited as quickly as possible, so we can start looking at potential animal health technician qualifications at that level, which I think will help fan out and meet the need. One of the big issues why we've seen a recurrence actually in many animal diseases is as a result of technology. Sometimes technological advancement has unintended consequences. And so many of you who are like me, have a bit more gray hair, will remember the old dip tank system that we had in many of our areas. And that was bring people together communally at a dip tank to be able to dip for ticks and fleas and various of other diseases. But with the advent of modern technology now, you no longer need to go through a dip tank to remove ticks. And that has broken the dip tank culture. One of the things we're looking at the department is how can we reestablish that dip tank culture, particularly for using it as a model to be able to share livestock information and best practice, particularly in more communal areas. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. We now come to question 196 asked by Honorable Mukwena, the delegate from KZN. Over to you, Minister. The question deals with the issue of cleanup of the entrenched network of corruption in your department.
The Department of Agriculture was established as a department on the 1st of April 2025. Therefore, the Auditor General will only be able to audit the department for the period 1 April 2025 to 31 March 2026. However, it does bear noticing that upon assumption of office as the Minister, I immediately set about meeting with the Auditor General's office. The Auditor General has indicated a number of areas where she felt there could be improvement in the outcomes. One of those was around irregular expenditure. Now, I think it is important, but does bear mentioning, Chairperson, that irregular expenditure doesn't necessarily mean corruption. It refers to spending that doesn't prescribe with certain regulations or policies. For example, procurement without following supply chain rules, i.e. not getting 3 quotes, a contract extended beyond approved time frame without Treasury approval, and payments made without the correct authorization. It's important to note that the goods and services could well have been delivered in full and at a fair price. The irregularity lies in the process, not necessarily in the outcome. Irregular expenditure is non-compliance with the rules. It's an administrative failure. It's not automatically evidence of dishonesty. Corruption, however, is a deliberate misuse of power or resources for personal gain and is a criminal offence. And I think it is important that we make those distinctions, because you may well have departments where you have some irregular expenditure, but it doesn't necessarily mean that it is corruption. However, where issues of corruption do exist and allegations are made, they are thoroughly investigated. And there have been a number of instances where we continue to meet with the Auditor General as well as our internal audit committee to ensure that any of these instances are followed up and that we can put in place remedial tasks. However, the Auditor General's report for the department's first year will be expected a bit later, and we will obviously hope by then to have shown that we do take these things seriously within the department. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The follow-up question comes from Honorable Mukwena, the originator of the question.
Thank you, Minister, for the answer. In light of the explanation that we've had about irregular expenditure, I would like to ask specifically on how much procurement corruption has been shown by the previous audit year, and how much of that has been recovered by the department, and also if anybody has faced disciplinary action as a result of that. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Mukwena, for the question. But as you know, the rules, Minister, sometimes the question of statistical nature can be provided.
I'm happy to do it, but I mean, it's very difficult for me to provide that because the Auditor General has not, our department was only formed on the 1st of April. Any figures I give her will well include some of Minister Nyonso's problem children. They're not necessarily with the Department of Agriculture, and some of his figures may well include some of my problem children. We have, however, picked up some areas, particularly relating to drought relief funds. The SIU are currently involved in an investigation around irregularities at OBP, and we are looking at a number of other contracts where it appears that there may have been undue influence. All of these, once we are able to provide the evidence, will result in criminal charges and disciplinary action against any member concerned. We've made it very clear within the department that when it comes to corruption and maladministration, with the department with a budget that is as small as ours is, we can't afford to lose a single cent. And that every cent we lose due to the misbehavior or corruption or misappropriation is one bit of money that could have gone towards assisting a small-scale farmer or being able to ensure that we're able to improve our food security.
Thank you, Minister. The next follow-up question comes from Honorable Njangisa Notata, delegate from the Eastern Cape, Home of Land.
Thank you, House Chair. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the explanation, but though still want to know if the department has a deliberate program that is aimed at ending and preventing irregular expenditure. Thank you, Chair.
Honorable Notata, over 2 minutes.
Yes, of course. And obviously some of the initiatives around some of the low-hanging fruit, making sure that we pay as many of the invoices as we can at 30 days to ensure that we don't fall foul of that. Making sure that those persons who are responsible for supply chain management are able to perform their functions in as diligent a way as possible. And the Director General of the department has taken personal responsibility to deal with some of the issues around irregular expenditure that have arisen in previous reports of the Department of Land Reform, Rural Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. Those initiatives are not only isolated to the Department of Agriculture, but are a directive that the President has given across government. We know that the devastating impact that corruption and maladministration has had on our ability as a government to be able to deliver. And that is why President Ramaphosa and the National Executive, as part of the deliberations, particularly around how we improve budget availability, is around cutting out the waste that corruption, maladministration, and irregular expenditure can often bring. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next question comes from Honorable Swart, from the delegate from the Eastern Cape. Over to
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Goeiemiddag, achtbare Minister. Chairperson, also very good to be back in the House after 2 months away. Minister, you've already touched base on my question, but I really want to hear from you very clear commitment with regards to accountability, that you will commit to this House to laying criminal charges if any employee, any consultant or contractor within your department is suspected of corruption. Thanks.
Chair, I make that public commitment to you and to the people of South Africa. I think the question is a good one. The disciplinary action against a variety of employees are being finalized. Draft charges have been formulated, and the initiator and chairperson has been appointed. Once all the logistical arrangements have been finalized, the disciplinary hearings will commence. In total, 1 matter is being investigated by the SIU, and 5 forensic investigations where completed cases have been opened already with law enforcement agencies. In terms of the outcomes of other forensic investigations, these charges are currently being finalized. The message I think that we need to send across government is that if you're interested in corruption, there's no place to hide in the departments. And we are committed as a government to cleaning up and cleaning out, once and for all, the scourge that has robbed our people of opportunities and advancement for far too long. For far too long, particularly during those 9 wasted years, South Africans really suffered as a result of money that was being siphoned off, not for public good, but for individual benefit and for individuals and their crony networks to become massively wealthy, while the majority of our people languish in poverty. And I think it's very, very important that we turn our back on those 9 wasted years and start to aggressively move towards writing a new story for South Africa. We have the instruments, the MFMA, the PFMA, and the Public Audit Act all have very strong regulations. What we now need to do is to make sure that those are enforced and send a very clear message that this is not something that will be tolerated wherever it raises its head. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question comes from Honorable Kennedy, the delegate from Limpopo.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, given that the current procurement processes is neither cost-effective nor equitable, and instead filled with loopholes which are often used to irregularly award contracts. Which specific measures have you put in place to abolish tenders and build your department internal capacity so as to reduce the department's reliance on external parties? Thank you.
Honorable Kennedy. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, and I thank the Honorable Kennedy for the question. And Honorable Kennedy is absolutely right. These loopholes have existed for a number of years, and they're not isolated to national departments. They're also in provincial departments. For instance, there was a tender once awarded to a company called On Point Engineering that benefited a large number of politicians who ended up paying a huge cost for those loopholes. So we have to close these loopholes because for far too long individuals have benefited from them. We are committed to ensuring that procurement within the Department of Agriculture is clean and accountable, and that the citizens of the country get value for money out of those procurements. This makes it absolutely essential that this House also does its oversight over the department and myself to ensure that we are adhering to these commitments made. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. We now go to the next question, which is question 191, asked by Honorable Dlamini. Over to Minister. What interventions is the department undertaking to assist black small-scale sugarcane farmers in Mpumalanga and KwaZulu-Natal?
The Department of Agriculture, through the Comprehensive Agricultural Support Program, CASP, offers smallholder producers, including small-scale sugarcane farmers, training related to the production, technical, business, and entrepreneurship, occupation health and safety, to be able to address the skills gap and to equip them with the requisite skills to make the enterprises profitable and sustainable, and therefore deliver growth and success. For the past 5 years, 2021 to 2025, 16,491 beneficiaries received training in both Mpumalanga, 12,016, and KwaZulu-Natal, 4,475. This has been a steady increase over the period that has seen a large number of small-scale farmers being supported, particularly in the sugar industry. At a recent meeting with the South African Sugar Association, where the Small Growers Association was present, they indicated the catalytic effect that the Mafisa funding has had on particularly small-scale sugar producers to be able to participate fully in the market. And obviously, I've made a commitment to them that we would look at ensuring that that type of funding, i.e. the Mafisa program, which has helped over 2,000 small-scale farmers make sure that they can plant in time and have the input costs to be able to participate fully in the sector. And we look forward to continuing with those types of assistance. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Over to Honorable Dlamini, the delegate from the Free State.
Good afternoon, Honorable House Chair. Thank you, Honorable Minister, for your response to my initial question. Has there been any challenges identified that impede the envisaged growth of the black small-scale growers? If yes, what is done to deal with these challenges? I thank you.
Honorable Dlamini, over to Minister.
Thank you very much, Chair, and thank you to the Honourable Dlamini for the excellent question. There are obviously a number of challenges that are faced across the agricultural sector, and it was access to the patient capital. That Mafisa project that has assisted over 2,000 small-scale farmers was started with a seed capital investment of only 50 million rand from the department, which shows that even if you have a little bit of money, it can have a catalytic effect. What we want to do is looking at how we can improve that amount of money so that we can widen the net. However, there are a number of challenges that face small scale producers, but it's not immune. The large producers are not immune to them. One of these is the illegal import of sugar into South Africa, which dramatically impacts on the price. Sugar comes in a number of ports disguised as other duty-free products, for instance, rice, and makes its way into the big customers and onto supermarket shelves. I think that one of the efforts that we should be making as a department and as a country is to make sure that we have an effective buy local, a situation where we can back South African farmers in the face of international pressure. What we do is we have a number of inspections in supermarkets and other retailers to look at this fake sugar because grey import sugar, because it does have an impact directly on the ability of our farmers to be able to get a fair price for their sugar. If you can get it cheaper from abroad, it means there's less incentive to buy local. Less incentive to buy local means mills that are problems. There are a number of mills that have closed down, and given the inability of some of our smaller scale farmers to be able to travel the distances that they require to get their sugarcane to a mill, this is a huge impediment. We are looking at, in discussion with SASSA, there are a number of initiatives to look at how we can revive some of the mills and perhaps look at alternative models where we can get that through. But here's the big game changer for small-scale agriculture, particularly in the sugarcane sector. And that is through the finalization of the second part of the sugar industry master plan. The first part of the plan was completed. It's now due for a renewal, part 2 of the sugar industry master plan. And that will also then ensure greater participation of small-scale producers and ensuring that there are fair prices on sugar products produced by those individuals. And so it's very important that is done. The other game changer for the sector is looking at what has been promised ever since the devastating health levy was introduced, which has significantly seen a reduction in uptake, was a diversification of the sugar sector. And this is something that I'm working very closely with the Minister and Deputy Minister of Energy to look at how we can develop biofuels in South Africa. Our peer countries, also sugar producers, have long ago diversified their sugar crops into bioethanol and biodiesel. With the international targets that now exist to move by 2030 to 30% for shipping and airline fuel using biodiesel and bioethanol, it offers a huge sunrise opportunity for the sugar sector. It will again guarantee uptake for our small-scale black producers and small-scale farmers to be able to have greater access to a growing sector rather than one which has been hit by the health levy and declining customers. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. Over to you, Honourable PLENARY. The next follow-up question is coming from you.
Chairperson. Minister, given the severe threat that cheap and often substandard sugar imports pose to the sustainability of our domestic sugar industry and the thousands of jobs it supports, what concrete measures is your department implementing together with ITAC, SARS, and the Department of Trade, Industry and Competition to protect South African producers? Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable PLENARY. Over to you.
Thank you very much. Obviously, as I've said, we are working with the BMA as well to try and stop imports into the country. There needs to be a corporate and consumer effort to back South African farming and to ensure that they're not buying sugar products from other countries. And it's as simple as looking at the labeling on it, which is, somebody sent me a label the other day and said, this product contains sugar that could come from, and it listed 17 different countries, of which South Africa was one of them. We need to be able to back South African farmers and make sure that we are able to do that. ITAC, we will be making a call to the Minister, Minister Tau, on the ITAC tariffs, to be able to ensure that they kick in automatically, which is able to ensure that the sector has the agility and nimbleness to be able to adapt to changing prices internationally. We are also responsible as the Department of Agriculture for removing unlawful products off the shelves. And we have a unit enforcement unit that goes around, say, doing inspections, not only of sugar, but of products, for instance, like honey. We've had a scourge of fake honey coming into South Africa, syrup flavored as honey, and customers obviously paying for something that they're not getting. And so we're committed to getting those products off the shelves. But I think it's going to require a deeper commitment from corporate and consumer South Africa to be conscious about when they're buying products, that they're buying products that support South Africa.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next question comes from Honorable Machobeni from the Eastern Cape.
Thank you very much, Deputy Speaker. Greetings to you and the Minister and honorable members. Minister, thank you with your response of 2,500 small scales that will be assisted. But the small scale sugarcane sector consists of women who still battle with gender inequalities, particularly in terms of support given and access to production resources, as males still have more access than females. What measures have you put in place to ensure that you prioritize equality in access to resources and skills development of small-scale sugarcane farmers? And secondly, what steps have you taken to prioritize the youth as the majority of the current farmers that are aging? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honorable Machobeni. Over to you.
Thank you, and thank you very much for a very considered question. All of the department's policies and interventions are biased towards women, youth, and people with disabilities. Every single one of our financing plans and products is biased towards those three key sectors. And we also, within the value chain roundtables, as well as the commodity trust bodies, also have a bias towards making sure that those three vulnerable groups are mainstreamed and are given the same opportunities and to be able to participate fully in the sector. It's very interesting that some of our more successful farmers that I've visited recently, who are beneficiaries of interventions by national government, have been women farmers. I spent our Women's Month program with a number of our female farmers, some of whom face far bigger obstacles than their male counterparts. I was recently with a farmer in the Free State who had suffered a brutal farm attack, for instance, in her home. She was a woman that lived alone, farmed alone, and had suffered a brutal attack. And she walked herself almost 10 kilometers to get to a road in order just to get medical assistance. And then I've met others that are knocking the lights out with livestock. Recently at one of the schools I visited as well, in Welkom, a school that deals with children with special needs, the star pupil in agriculture there is a woman. She's the leader in terms of the chicken production as well as the vegetable production. The other point you make, Honourable Member, is absolutely the right one. And I think it's also linked to the question that the Honourable Van den Berg asked earlier as well, is that what do we say to get young people involved in agriculture? And I think the way we do it is by removing as many of the obstacles to the financing that they require, as many of the obstacles as possible. And I think also looking at when we do land reform programs, like Minister Nyonso does, that there is equally a bias towards youth, young people, and women, because we do have an aging farming population and we do need younger people to get into farming. It will have huge implications on our food security going into the future if our farmers, no matter what the color of their skin, no matter where in the country they are, dissipate. It will be a really tragic day as well when the experience and know-how and knowledge that so many of our farmers that are currently farming, who go into retirement, if we lose that knowledge and experience, it'll take us a long time to get it back. And so it is important that we try and get as many young people now into agriculture. And the great thing about agriculture is it's becoming a much sexier space than it's been before. It's not just about digging in the dirt and getting your hands dirty planting things. It's about drones. It's about weather technology. It's about economics. It's about soil and soil composition. And there's so many exciting new sectors that have opened up in agriculture, and that's why it should really become a choice for many, many more young people in South Africa, because you may need a doctor once or twice a year. You may need a lawyer 3 or 4 times. If you're a politician, you're generally more litigious, so maybe a bit more. But you need a farmer every 3 times every single day. And I think it's a great sector to be in. And I think the more young people we can attract, the better it's going to be for all of us. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Minister. The next question comes from Honourable Van den Berg, the delegate from the Northern Cape.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, transport and the need for infrastructure upgrades have also been indicated as a real problem, also hampering these small scale and, well, really all sugarcane farmers. Have your department secured any projects in conjunction with especially the Department of Transport regarding roads and rail, and as those roads are downright dangerous? Thank you.
Over to Minister.
Thank you. And having spent 4 days in the Northwest over the course of last week, interacting with farmers, both small-scale farmers as well as large commercial farmers, I would agree with you. And I think the point you make is absolutely well made. Roads and broken infrastructure are becoming a major disincentive and friction cost for farmers. And have also started to have an impact on some of our projects. I was recently with a project in KwaZulu-Natal of female dairy farmers, where the province had put in significant resources into getting this dairy established and up and running, and they had uptake agreements. But eventually the milk processors said that the road to get to them was so bad that they could no longer send trucks anymore. And so overnight, those group of female farmers lost their market. The same is repeated time and time again. A commercial farmer getting citrus or maize or other products to market, it becomes exceptionally difficult. Interestingly enough, I've been attending the NAMPO conference for the last 8 years. And for the previous 7 years, the top issue has always been crime and rural safety. At this last NAMPO that I attended in Bothaville, by far the biggest cry from producers and farmers alike was the state of infrastructure. To that end, I obviously interact regularly with Minister Creasy already around ports and rail. I think the more we can get our rail systems work up and running again, I think the easier it will make to move agricultural goods around. In terms of the roads, we're in the process of identifying the worst roads in the country that have the biggest impact on agricultural production. And you would no doubt have noticed the work being done by Agri-SA and the Minister of Public Works on identifying how we can work together to ensure that those roads which have an impact in the agri-space are starting to get redone. I think many of the local municipalities and in some cases provinces don't understand the huge impact this actually has on economic viability in many instances. And having seen some of the roads around Lichtenberg and Potch, and particularly the ones around Klerksdorp, the roads there, not only for the agri-space, but also for business owners there, have become so bad that many of them are thinking about packing up and moving. And when they go, the jobs go with them. We saw what happened with the massive dairy that closed in Lichtenberg because of the state of the electricity, the sewerage, the roads and the water. And they shut down the factory, moved to Durban in KwaZulu-Natal, and took all the jobs with them. And that's had a devastating impact on Lichtenberg's local economy. So I think it's around a determined focus on infrastructure development. I think it's going to come down to ring fencing a certain proportion of municipal and provincial infrastructure grants towards maintenance and resurfacing. And again, making sure that we get value for money. In the case of the Free State, for instance, there's many examples where the money's been provided by province, the contractor starts the job and a quarter of the way through walks off the job, and you then have an incomplete road, money's been paid, and it's very difficult to get to recoup that. So these are all things we're going to have to look at going forward. But our infrastructure in South Africa has reached a tipping point, and it is something we're going to have to get very serious about if we're going to do, because our roads and our transport networks are the very arteries of our economy. And as you know, when your arteries get clogged or damaged in your system, there are very dangerous things that can happen. We need to make sure that we avoid that and make sure we keep those arteries open and flowing, and with them, our economy will flourish. Thank you.
Honorable delegates, we have come to the end of the questions to the Minister of Agriculture. I would like to thank the Honorable Minister for availing himself and committing his department to clean governance and addressing the historical imbalances. We wish you all of the best in your trip which you are about to undertake. Bye, thank you.
Thank you, Mr.
Honorable delegates, I now call upon the Honorable Minister of Land Reform and Rural Development to respond to the questions number 192 asked by Honorable Mdise. Over to you, Honorable Minister. Honorable Chief Whip, can we give the Minister a chance to respond to the questions you guys have asked, please? Over to Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Greetings to you and greetings to the honorable members. Honorable Chair, on the first question, the Commission on Restitution of Land Rights has the requisite skills, but not enough capacity. Further, in the case of the Land Access Movement of South Africa, LAMUSA, and others, versus Chairperson of the National House of Council of Provinces and others, the Constitutional Court declared the Restitution of Land Rights Amendment Act 15 of 2014 invalid. The Commission was interdicted from processing in any manner whatsoever land claims lodged from 1st July 2014 until all older claims have been finalized or new legislation has been enacted. In line with LAMUSA judgment, the Commission is currently processing the old order claims lodged by 31st December 1998. Secondly, Chair, the Commission requires over 70 billion rands to settle all order claims. Currently, the Commission only receives 3 billion per annum to settle these claims. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question comes from Honorable Mdise, who's on the visual platform. Over to Honorable Mdise.
No, thank you so much, Chair. I welcome the response from the Minister, in particular the acknowledgement of the Constitutional Court judgment that had declared the Commission invalid, especially the Amendment Act invalid. And I'm worried, Chair, if the Commission on Restitution and Land Rights requires 70 billion to be able to put to rest all these outstanding issues, and they only get 3 billion a year. Are there any mechanism, Minister, that yourself together with the Commission are exploring in order to fast track the issue of dealing with the outstanding issues? Because there are other issues that are still on the table that still need to be attended to, but we're still speaking about the outstanding ones. Do you have any mechanism together with the Commission to deal with these issues? Thanks, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mdise. Over to Honorable Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Yes, Honorable Modise, it is really worrying. In fact, in his report, former President Mutlande wrote that if we are settling the claims with the pace we are using today, it will take us 700 years. So it is indeed a worrying factor. And also, Chair, we are engaging with Treasury, raising this concern that with this pace, it will take us many years to settle claims. And also, Chair, we are also encouraging claimants to opt for land instead of money, because it becomes easier to settle land and restore the land to them than give them money. So we're also making those requests to people who are claiming land, but it is indeed a worrying factor. But we're engaging Treasury. We are not sure if it is possible for us to also involve private sector, but we've been talking about it to see if they can come on board and try to assist us in settling these old order claims. But indeed, it is a tall order. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question comes from Honorable Swart, the delegate from the Western Cape.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Good afternoon, Honorable Minister. Seeing the importance of land reform, Minister, and rural development, and given the track record of that department is more than an impediment to land reform. So why has your department not partnered, Minister, with universities, with private sector, or accredited professionals to bring in urgent technical support to speed up this massive backlog? And can you, as Minister, now guarantee that underspending and poor capacity won't lead to yet another cycle where claimants wait decades for resolutions? Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Swart. Over to Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and thanks for the question, Honorable Swartz. We already now we are partnering with the University of Western Cape, and we are also talking now to the University of Cape Town, and in trying to work with them and provide us with the technical skills. So we are partnering with them. In our strategic planning, Honorable, that we had 2 weeks ago, which was a mandate definition workshop, we agreed there that it is going to be a crime and a chargeable offense not to spend what we have in trying to resolve land claims. So we are going to make sure that we spend everything we have now, and we are trying to make sure that we settle claims as soon as possible. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question comes from Honorable Keza, the delegate from Mpumalanga.
Oh, thank you very much, Chair. Honorable Minister, given the lack of capacity, which your department is notoriously known for, what effective oversight mechanism have you put in place so as to ensure that claimants do not wait yet another decade for justice? Thank you very much.
Honorable Keza, over to Minister.
Firstly, thank you, Honorable Keza. And it is true that we're lacking capacity, but already now we are starting a process of recruitment. And because, as we said when we came here, that the Commission, for example, is operating at 50% of its capacity. And now we've since lifted the moratorium, and we are starting a process of recruitment so that we make sure that there is capacity, so that we make sure that claims do not take too much, because most of the claimants, or those who lodged claims in 1998, most of them have since passed away. So it's very painful when we meet with them across the country and we see ourselves only settling these claims to the grandchildren. So we're making sure that we are settling them now. And as you know, we are all over the place and we are restoring land, we are settling claims, and Africans are happy. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next question, follow-up question, comes from Honorable Van den Berg, the delegate from the Northern Cape.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, currently the state holds more than over 2 million hectares. Would it not be wise to distribute this available land with title deeds before taking on another wave of land claims and the instability that will go with that?
Honorable, over to Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Member. It is wise to both settle the claims and use what we have and also settle what is there and make sure that we restore it back to its rightful owners. We are fast-tracking, as the President instructed us in the Parliament, opening of Parliament, that we must fast-track the transfer of state land. And that is what we are doing now. But we must also settle the claims, because if we can wait, all these claimants will die, and in the future we won't even have the beneficiary or the identification of beneficiary correctly. So it's good to settle them as they still alive. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. Now we come to question 207 asked by Honorable Boshoff. The question deals with the issue of what departments ended over land without ensuring that livelihoods and productivity are sustainable as audits.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and thanks to Honorable Boshoff. Honorable Boshoff, on the question of livelihoods and productivity, the Department of Land Reform and Rural Development transfers land in terms of constitutional and legislative requirements. However, the department acknowledges that transfer alone does not guarantee sustainable livelihoods or productivity, which depend on additional support such as finance, infrastructure, and water. On post-settlement support at present, the department does not have a fully comprehensive post-settlement support framework. The Land Development Support Program, inherited from agriculture, provides some assistance in agricultural context, but it is not sufficient to address the broader multi-sectoral needs of restitution and redistribution beneficiaries. This gap has contributed to governance failures in CPAs and has been raised in litigation. The department is working to repurpose LDS into the basis of a new multi-sectoral framework supported by Treasury and other departments. On water, Honorable Boshoff, water use licenses are administered by the Department of Water and Sanitation. Our department facilitates applications to expedite support to land reform projects. On finance, financial support is provided in a form of grants. It is important to forge partnerships with development financing institutions to explore blended finance initiatives. However, access to finance remains uneven, and many land beneficiaries remains uncapitalized. On infrastructure support such as fencing, irrigation, and access roads is provided, often with provincial and municipal partners. However, coverage is limited due to resource constraints. And thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question comes from Honorable Boshoff, who's on the visual platform. Over to Delegate.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Minister, thank you for your responses and giving us insight as to what is being done. Now, in light of that, Minister, will you undertake to conduct and publish an independent audit of beneficiary farms to establish their current status and use that to inform a corrective plan rather than allowing projects to collapse unnoticed? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Boshoff. Over to Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and once more, thank you, Honorable Boshoff. Yes, Honorable Boshoff, I am making that undertaking because already I've instructed the DG of the department to do an audit and come with all these, some underutilized farms, some farms that were given to people and they now lying in fallow, and then we'll take it from there. Otherwise, we have already undertaken that audit, including audit of all land that we've undertaken to do as this department so that we know who owns our land, where and how, and what land is owned by the people. As you know, there are all these statistics that are talking about 4%, 13%, 26%. Now we've undertaken to do a comprehensive land audit so that we understand all land in South Africa. And thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister, for the speech with which you are running. The next follow-up question comes from Honorable Mabilo, the delegate from the Northern Cape.
No, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Good afternoon, Minister. Thank you. Minister, the question is, what initiatives has the department taken to ensure that post-settlement support programs provide mentorship to the beneficiary projects to ensure that they are financially viable? Thank you, our Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Mabilo. Over to you, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. As I've said, Honorable Mabilo, and thanks for the question, we really need to have a comprehensive post-settlement framework so that we know exactly who is going to do it. Because this thing of post-settlement, we don't only talk about post-settlement, but also pre-settlement. Because if we don't do it, it is possible, it is true that all the land will remain lying fallow. But the question is the resources and the budget that we have. But for now, as I've said in the first question, we are depending on the grants, whether it's 42 grant or 42C grant or 42D. But we try to make sure that when we give you land, we give you support so that you are able to work that particular land. Because if we don't do that, the land is not going to be used, and the beneficiaries end up leasing the land, and the land goes back to the previous owner. So we are really working on that. And thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. The next follow-up question comes from Honorable Keza, the delegate from Mpumalanga.
No, thank you very much, Chair. Minister, in Mpumalanga, land reform has collapsed into a symbolic handover of title deeds without the means of production. Farm areas in places like Nkangala, Hertz, Bande, Mbombela, and Bushbuck Ridge have been left to deteriorate due to departments' fail, while municipalities continue to outsource agricultural support services instead of building direct state capacity to sustain rural livelihoods. In light of this, what urgent measures of intervention have you put in place to abolish the practice of distributing land without any guaranteed access to water rights from catchment management agencies such as Nkomati, Usutu? And what commitments have you made to ring-fence Mpumalanga specific post-settlement support program integrated with the Department of Water and Sanitation so as to provide finance, infrastructure, and capacity building? Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Keza. Over to Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Honorable Keza, you know the problem in Mpumalanga. I've been to Mpumalanga for many times. And I've realized that the farms in Mpumalanga are not collapsing only because the department is not providing support. They are collapsing because beneficiaries themselves in Mpumalanga fight as if there is no tomorrow. And I met with almost all of them. And we have agreed that we must work and make sure that we resolve their internal conflicts. Because most of the land in Mpumalanga, which is under CPAs now, you'll realize that these farms are owned by families. And these families now do not agree with each other. But be that as it may, son of the soil, as I've indicated, we are working on making sure that as the department, we know exactly where are we going to locate this post-settlement support. Because as things stand, you want the Department of Land Reform to do post-settlement, they're shifting the blame to restitution, and restitution is shifting the blame to land reform. So we must have a dedicated person and a department that must work around post-settlement support, not only in Mpumalanga, but throughout the country. And thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister Nyonso. Good afternoon to you, honourable members, ladies and gentlemen. Our next supplementary question will come from the Honourable Van der Berg.
Thank you, Chair. Minister, since we are being very wise today, would it not be wise to move away from the CPA model where there's a constant dispute for resources and positions and move towards a system of individual ownership with smaller agricultural units where personal input and excellence directly goes towards the individual's personal success, as these models have proved themselves in the past, referring to the Hartswater and Boegoeberg agricultural areas in the Northern Cape? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Van der Berg. Back to you for a response, please, Minister.
Afternoon, Honourable Chair, and thank you to you, Honourable. You see, Honourable, the CPA is an act of Parliament. So it is not going to be easy for us, even if we can be wise, to just say we want to move away from CPAs. Because as I've met Pala, traditional leaders, they also told me that in their 2017 land in Daba, they have agreed that CPAs must be abolished. And that was only the resolution of the traditional leaders in their own Indaba. It was not the resolution of government, and it never came to government. And it remains as that resolution. Now I'm not sure, it may be wise, but truth is, it is an act of Parliament. And what we must do as ministers, we must just work according to the act and according to the Constitution. But CPAs are not fighting because of CPAs. They are fighting over resources. Even if they are a family, the day we deposit money to that particular CPAs, then the fight starts. So it is important that we must work with them, make sure that they comply with the law, and CPAs that do not comply with the law must be abolished. And they must be abolished, not abolished, but they must be called to come and comply and called an AGM. Remember, we've made an undertaking here when we're presenting the budget that we are going to undertake provincial roadshows of CPAs. And then at the end of the year, we're going to call a national CPA in Daba. And already we're in the 6th province. And this Thursday, I'll be in Northwest, which is the 7th province, trying to rectify the problems within the CPAs. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister. Minister, we now come to question number 193. It was asked by the Honourable Sithole. If we can have your reply to the question, please, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. The Commission on Restitution on Land Rights is aware of the land claim. However, it is unable to process this claim due to the Constitutional Court ruling of 2016, which declared the Restitution of Land Rights Amendment Act 2014 invalid on the basis of inadequate public consultation. While the court confirmed the validity of claims lodged between 1st July 2014 and 27 July 2016, it prohibited their processing until all outstanding pre-1998 claims have been finalized or until Parliament enacts new legislation. Parliament was required to pass such legislation by July 2018, but this has not yet occurred, despite the introduction of a restitution amendment bill in 2018. Accordingly, the Commission cannot process this claim or provide further assistance at this stage. Progress depends on either the resolution of pre-1998 claims or the enactment of new enabling legislation by Parliament. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister. I'm sure Honourable Sithole has a supplementary question she'd like to follow up with. Honourable Sithole.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and good afternoon to your good self and the Minister in house. My follow-up question, Minister, is that since there is a dispute of facts on the impasse between the Trust and the Together Resource Limited, what role can the Land Claim Court play to resolve such conflict? Thank you very much.
Sorry, Chair, I did not get you.
Yeah, Honourable Sithole, you were not very audible. Can I ask you just to repeat the essence of your question? but perhaps if you can sit slightly closer to your microphone, please.
Yeah.
Okay, am I audible enough now, Chair?
Yeah, that's much better.
Okay. No, my question is that since there are disputes of facts on the impasse between the trust and the Tugela Resource Limited, what role can the Land Claim Court play to resolve such conflict? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Sithole. I think that was better, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Thank you, Honourable Sithole. Yes, the Land Claim Court is playing a role in resolving these matters. By the way, we are rescheduling a meeting between the Land Court judges and us as the department as soon as possible to resolve all these problems, including disputes within these claims and trusts in the very same areas. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Let's go now to the Honourable Swart for a supplementary question.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, Honourable Minister. Given that a significant number of land claims are made on mining properties, which employ thousands of people and contribute billions to our economy in South Africa, a balance needs to be struck between the redress and past injustices and the need to protect our jobs. How will you as Minister reassure investors who provide jobs and dignity to our people that when they commit billions into our country, their properties will not be expropriated through land claims? Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Thank you, Honourable Swart. And to you, Minister, for a reply, please.
Thank you, Honourable Chair, and thank you, Honourable. Firstly, let me say when we settle claims, we engage in serious discussions, negotiations, and when we settle claims, we work within the parameters of the law. And as you know, we settle land claim, but what is underneath the claim belongs to the state, not to the people, or not to the department. It belongs to the state. But we are making sure that when we settle claims, we do not create problems. For example, last week we were in Northern Cape settling land claim. 600,000 hectares of land in Namakwa, including Rechtersveld. And most of those claims, they are mines. And when we were settling these claims, there were Alexco Mining, including their board, so they are working together. So when we settle claims, we do not touch the businesses or the people who are working in those particular mines. Truth is, what rightfully belongs to the African people must rightfully go back to them. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Honourable members, we now afford an opportunity to the Honourable Montwedi to put forward a supplementary question.
Thank you very much, Chair. Minister, the Batlakwane Bamzinyama community and many other communities were failed because these are new order claims. There were two things for you to have done in order to deal with the new order claims. One, for you to finalize old order claims. Two, for you to bring legislation. And this was as in 2014. Why has thus far government failed to bring legislation that will ensure that simultaneously old order and new claims are dealt with? That is just the first one. But just a quick one, Minister, is that you have a commission that has been on road to autonomy for more than 10 years. How do you expect that commission that is failing to reach its road to autonomy to be able to successfully deal with issues around the community that we're talking about now? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed, Honourable Montwedi, and your reply to that, please, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Not only the Muzimnyama community, or Omotlakane, Manzimnyama community, Honourable Montwedi, also in fact, to be precise, it's 163,000 claims that we are not working. But since we joined the department, Honourable, we've been trying to do what has been advised by the Constitutional Court. Because I know that at some point in 2018, the Commission tried to bring a restitution amendment bill in 2018, but of course it lapsed when the term ended. And from 2019 until 2024, nothing happened. So when we came in, we've been working on it because we're trying to have that resolution and table it in Parliament so that we have this legislation, because we must, I believe, firmly believe that we must reopen them and make sure that we settle their land claims. Lastly, on the question of the Commission, we have also undertaken to make sure that the Commission very soon becomes independent. And we told even the Portfolio Committee about that, because the Commission came to me and presented about this thing. And we are going to make sure that it is independent. Like all other commissions, let me not do timelines, because I did not say timelines to them. If I do them here, you will be saying tomorrow I've lied under oath. But I'm committing myself that I'm going to do it. They did not ask me. So unfortunately, we are not part of the commission. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister. Honourable members, let's look to Honourable Peter for the next supplementary question and the last one on this question.
Thank you, Chair. Evening, Honourable Minister. Honourable Minister, during my recent oversight visit to Upper Mngasha in Timbaza, Eastern Cape, I engaged with residents who lodged land claims more than a decade ago. While some beneficiaries have received land or financial compensation, many have not. Furthermore, the department has also reported persistent institutional deficiencies, including reliance on manual system, no consequence management, and poor coordination between the department. What immediate measures have you implemented to overcome this deadlock created by the court order on post-1999 land claims to ensure that communities such as Upper Mngasha receive timely and just a resolution? Lastly, how are you addressing the structural and institutional weaknesses identified within the department and its entities to guarantee that inefficiencies will no longer obstruct land claims, Minister?
Thank you for the questions, Honourable Member. I do want to just remind Honourable Members that supplementary questions are required to have only one question, but over to you, Minister, for a reply.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. Honourable Member, as you know, 3 weeks ago I was in that municipality, Amahlati municipalities, talking to land claimants around that area. And the claims that you're talking about is part of 2014 interdicted claims by Lamusa judgment. But as I've said already to the Honourable Mutweti, we must bring this new resolution so that we have this restitution amendment bill, table it in cabinet and in Parliament so that we reopen the land claims. I agree with you, people are dying without getting their land, and that is why we're working on. Also, Honourable Member, as we speak, the Commissioner, the Land Claim Commissioner, is in Eastern Cape right now. We have asked her to remain that side of the province for 2 weeks because of these inefficiencies that we've since identified in the Commission, and make sure that she tables a report to me immediately after 2 weeks. And this is her second week, and I'm hoping that after this, we are going to make sure that we resolve these issues, not only in Eastern Cape. After this, she must go to another province, because we've already visited all 9 provinces and we understand exactly what is the problem now with the land claims, and we are really attending to it. Thank you, Honourable Member.
Thank you very much, Minister. Minister, we now move on to question number 204. It was asked by the Honourable Kennedy. The question relates to the delays in land claim processes. Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. The Commission on Restitution of Land Rights is implementing a backlog reduction strategy aimed at finalizing all other land claims lodged by 31st December 1998. Implementation is taking place within the limits of the budget appropriated by Parliament, with settlement and finalization targets aligned accordingly. However, the Commission faces capacity constraints in order to accelerate the resolution of the outstanding claims. There is a clear need for additional financial resources and increased human capacity. To this end, the Department continues to engage with the National Treasury and other stakeholders to secure the necessary support to fast-track the resettlement process. And I've initially alluded to this question about this response, Honorable Chair, and thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Minister. And then to Honorable Kennedy for a supplementary question.
Thank you, Chair. Honorable Minister, the ruling party has for a period of over 30 years failed to reimagine the land question and to solve the problems of racialized access to land. And as a result, the current land reform program has proved to be a failure. The current land reform program is a failure because it is poorly conceptualized and the state is now stuck with thousands of land claims that it cannot settle. In light of this grim reality, Minister, what steps have you taken to introduce a policy which will expropriate land without paying compensation and ensure that this land is then redistributed equitably? Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Kennedy. And your reply to that, please, Minister.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. And thank you, Honorable Kennedy. But let me not talk or comment about the ruling party or former ruling party. Let me talk about my responsibility as the Minister of Land now. Now, Honorable Kennedy, what we are doing now is to fast-track the land reform program using the pieces of legislation that we have right now. And as I've mentioned already, the way we are doing this, the way we are restoring land back to its rightful owners, the way we are settling land claims, the way we are paying grants to our people, the way we are handing over title deeds and make sure that we do not only restore land to our people, but we also restore the dignity, because with land, it's not only about soil. We are also spiritually connected to land as African people. And that is what we are doing right now. So we are fast-tracking the land reform program. And of course, we, as this department, we have introduced a bill already in the portfolio committee, what we called an equitable access to land bill, to make sure that this redistribution of land is also fast-tracked. Of course, we also have another bill that is called Communal Land Bill that is going to state exactly the difference or who is going to be in charge of the land when it comes also to communities. So those two bills are in our table, are in the table of Portfolio Committee and Parliament. Thank you very much, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Minister, for that response. And then let's go now to the Honorable Ndlangisa Nodada for a supplementary question.
Thank you, House Chair. Honorable Minister, as we all know that there are many challenges that face the land reform program in South Africa. We acknowledge that, but would like to know how much resistance are you experiencing from existing landowners in your effort to distribute land, and whether the willing seller principle is still relevant in the current phase. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Honorable Ndlangisa Nodada. And your reply, please, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair, and thank you, Honorable Nodada, for the question. I don't think the willing buyer, willing seller is still relevant, but it is still applying. But it is not relevant because it simply means if you are not willing to sell, even if I'm willing to buy, I cannot buy your farm. And indeed, there is resistance. And resistance is more in Western Cape than all other provinces. In fact, last week we were in a farm in the Overberg region, the only farm. You see, I've been crisscrossing this land called Azani. The only farm that is an island in a sea of white-owned farms in the Overberg region is only farm that we managed to buy as this department and handed it over to a black farmer. Now, all the farms that are there surrounding that farm are owned by white farmers. And we made a call and asked them to release land so that we are able to redistribute the land. There is resistance. In fact, in Western Cape from 1994 till to date, we've only restituted 100,000 hectares of land. And yet in Northern Cape, we're about to restitute 2 million right now, which means there is resistance, and we are making that call again, that they must release land so that we are able to redistribute it to our people and address and redress the previously disadvantaged people of this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. My list indicates that the next supplementary question will come from the Honourable Pinar.
Thank you, Chairperson. Agbare Minister. Minister, you touch on CPAs in one of your previous responses, but at the end of the day, the department also needs to take responsibility. And will the Minister agree that his department has failed to train individuals to uplift CPAs to ensure land claims are swiftly settled and productive after settlement? Thank you, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Pinar, and back to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and thank you, Honourable Pinar. Yes, Honourable Pinar, we have said it ourselves that we are also taking the responsibility. We have failed to train these people. We have failed to empower these people. We should have taken them into confidence and train them how to use this land, how to work this land, how to work even the very same money that we have given to them. So we have taken that responsibility. Hence now, we're undertaking this provincial visit throughout the country. And in December, we're going to have what we call National CPA Indaba, where we're going to give them marching orders and have a way forward and make sure that they all function within the law and they comply with the law. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister. And let's go now to the Honourable Majola.
Thank you very much, Chairperson, and thank you very much, Minister, for your responses. Although they are really disturbing, noting the fact that we are still having unresolved claims since 1998, which is 27 years now. Honourable Minister, you cited, amongst others, as challenges, a funding shortfall or the budget limits. And you further mentioned the two strategic sessions you've just conducted. One is a strategic planning. The other one is the backlog strategic plan. I want to check from you, from the outcomes of those two strategic sessions you had, that from the current budget, 2025-26 budget, and how much are you intending as an outcomes of your planning to address the outstanding claims since 1998 in a percentage format? And then to note that, Minister, it has a negative contribution in terms of the unemployment, the inequality, and the poverty. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Majola. And your reply, please, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and thank you, Honourable Majola. But let me say, I was talking about backlog reduction strategy that the Commission has. It was not a strategic planning that I attended, but it is the strategic backlog that they have as the Commission. Also, Honourable Majola, maybe let me say, it is not as if there was nothing that was happening for the past 27 years. These claims were 80,000, and to date, there are only 5,000. So we are settling them. In fact, in Free State, if my memory serves me well, we only have 2 now, claims. So we are about to finish Free State and focus on other provinces. In Eastern Cape, there are only 300 now. So if we can have resources, we can settle Free State, Eastern Cape, and all these ones with few claims within this budget that we're having right now. So Kona, we are settling 327 claims per budget or per annum. That is our own target. But we know normally we are settling more than that because it also depends on the money that we have. So we are working on these claims. What I'm concerned about is the pace with which we are working with. And thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Minister, we now get to question number 198. The question was asked by the Honourable Mokoena, and it relates to land reform capture, asking for details of hectares of land that were incorrectly allocated to politically connected persons in the department.
Thank you, Honorable Chair, and thank you, Honorable Mokoena. The Department of Land Reform and Rural Development has no record of land being incorrectly allocated to politically connected individuals. All land allocations are conducted in accordance with the beneficiary selection and land allocation policy, which outlines clear eligibility criteria and control measures to ensure transparency and fairness. The policy includes mechanisms such as a cooling off period of 12 months for politicians who have exited public office before they may apply for land, a national application process, and 3 levels of support and recommendation, as well as quality of assurance to ensure integrity in the allocation process, and exclusion of current public servants unless they resign and disclose their status prior to application. In the absence of any confirmed cases of irregularity allocation, no corrective steps have been necessary. However, the department remains committed to continuous monitoring, auditing, and public reporting to uphold accountability and prevent any form of land capture. Should any irregularities be discovered through the continuous monitoring, auditing, or formal investigation, the department will act in accordance with the law or refer matters to the relevant authorities for further action. Thank you, Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much, Minister. Honourable members, I note that Honourable Mokoena is not in the House. She was earlier. I'm not sure if she's now engaged online. Honourable Mokoena, are you online? In that case, honourable members, in terms of Rule 228, subsection 6, if a delegate in whose name a question for oral reply is standing comes up for reply, is not in the House, or is not represented by another delegate, the question lapses until the person who is to reply to the question elects to reply to the question or tables the reply. Honourable Mokoena, we are addressing your question. Do you have a follow-up for the Minister? You have used most of your 2 minutes already.
Thank you, Minister, for answering my question. Given the scale of land incorrectly allocated, because there has been actually circumstances where people have come through and said there has been land which has been politically given or given to people politically. Is it your intention to do an investigation to find out if there are such cases? And if so, what are your intentions after you find that what we are saying is true? Thank you.
Thank you very much, Honourable Mokoena. I believe you responded in part to that already, Minister. Unfortunately, the Honourable Member was not in the House to hear your response. I'm not sure if you have anything to add.
No, thank you, Chair. No, Honourable Mokoena, I've already responded. But let me also reassure you that I don't have records of politically connected individuals that have been given land. However, we are doing land audit to all the allocated farms, land to people. We want to know who owns the land, but we don't know about this record of politically connected people. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Minister. Let's go now to the Honourable Mabilo for a supplementary question.
Thank you, House Chair. Honourable Minister, I think Honourable Minister would agree with me that any fraudulent or corrupt allocation of land undermines efforts for reconciliation, development, and more equitable distribution of land as envisioned in the Freedom Charter, the Constitution, and applicable legislation. The question then is, Minister, what measures are in place to ensure that all claims are handled in a fair, transparent, and equitable manner? Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Please, may we have your reply, Minister?
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Comrade, before we settle land, we conduct research, independent research. We give that job to independent people from universities, companies who can do research independently. So we're doing it fairly, and the only problem the only query that I have, hence I said we are going to review even this beneficiary allocation policy. It's only that when we allocate land or farms, we publicize to the national newspapers, and that advertisement is only written in English, and then we give land to people who can write English. But you must also know that there's someone who was born in a farm who did not go to school but can understand farming more than me. So that's the only query I have with the beneficiary allocation. Otherwise,
Chair,
there is
there's a
no
hand.
fraud in how we settle claims for now. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Let's go back online, and the next supplementary question is from Honourable Boshoff.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Minister, you have now publicly stated that you are not aware of any politically connected people that have these farms and that you act under law. Now, Minister, independent research by the Institute for Poverty, Land and Agrarian Studies, and even reports to Parliament have confirmed that almost half of land reform farms have been allocated to wealthy or politically connected elites, and this while the rural poor, the intended beneficiaries, are sidelined. It is therefore absolutely clear that South Africans have lost hope in government's land reform project. Now, you keep saying that you're not aware of it. Now, we see this overwhelming evidence. Will you then here today state under oath to this House that whether you dispute these findings, and if not, why has your department failed to publish a full public audit of all beneficiaries to expose this capture and restore trust in the land reform program? Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much, Honourable Boshoff. Your reply, please, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. And let me repeat myself that I do not have a record of politically connected allocations of farms. So if any member has got that proof or that knowledge, he can provide it to us, then we'll take it from there. But as the department, we have undertaken a land audit, including the already allocated farms. Where are they allocated? Who are our beneficiaries? And what is happening right now in those particular farms? Remember, a farm must create jobs. A farm must produce food, and a farm must contribute to the revenue. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Let's now go to the Honourable Montwedi for the final supplementary question to question 198.
Thank you very much, Chair. Minister, land is allocated in line with your beneficiary selection policy. Now, I want to ask you as the minister to say, how effective is this beneficiary selection policy to be able to pick up all these individuals that honorable members are talking about here? Are you sure that the selection policy is watertight, or there is work that needs to be done to strengthen this selection policy so that it should be able to pick up these politically connected or even those that would get land that they do not actually qualify to get land but hide behind any other thing that they're able to hide behind? Thank you very much.
Thank you, Honourable Montwedi. Your reply, please, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. I cannot say it is watertight, Honourable Montwedi. Hence, I've started this process of auditing and know exactly who are the beneficiaries of this farm allocation process. But as I've said, the only issue I have with it excludes people with a passion to farm, but they are not able to come and write your aptitude test and come and make a compelling case for them to be given farms. And that's where I said we must look at it and make sure that we review there. But as things stand, Honourable Montwedi, we allocate land, 50% of the land to women, 40% of the land to the youth, and 6% to people living with disabilities. And of course, we also allocate the land to military veterans. And that is what the policy says today. So I'm saying we must review it and see how do we fit people who cannot write, but they've been born in a farm, they are labor tenants, they understand farming more than those who went to school and do agricultural degree. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister. Minister, we now move on to the last set of questions, which will emanate from question number 195. It was asked by the Honourable Dlamini. It relates to the details around land claimants that have opted for financial compensation as opposed to land. Your reply to Honourable Dlamini, please, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. The claimants opted for financial compensation so far are 2,785. As part of the restitution process, there is a stage called the Options Workshop, where the Commission on Restitution of Land Rights provides information and presents restitution options to all qualifying beneficiaries and explains the long-term implications for each option. The diagnostic and research conducted independently by the University of Cape Town on what claimants do with their awards of financial compensation shows that the majority of beneficiaries use their compensation to build and renovate their homes, pay for their children's educational needs in tertiary institutions, unveiling of tombstones and other cultural ceremonies for their deceased parents and family members affected by dispossessions, and some invest the money for future generations in income endowment. Financial compensation is also considered where the land might be non-restorable. According to the department's record, there is no legal entity named Maluti wa Pofong Communal Property Association.
Thank you again, Minister. And Honourable Dlamini, do you have a supplementary question?
Yes, House Chair, thank you. Thank you, Honourable Minister, for your response on my initial question. In cases where the claimants opt for financial compensations, do the amounts paid equal to the current market value or of the land being claimed? Thanks.
Thank you, Honourable Dlamini. Your reply, please, Minister.
Thank you, Honourable Chair. No, Honourable Dlamini. And that is what has always been confronting us ever since we paid these claims. We do not pay according to current market value. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Thank you, Minister. Let's go now to the Honourable Badenhorst for a supplementary question.
I feel like Honorable Mabila now. Honorable Minister, there are consistent reports from communities across the country that many claimants now actively prefer financial compensation over land because of the collapse of numerous restitution projects caused by poor post-settlement support and lack of infrastructure. Well, will you admit here now that government's failure to provide sustained support has driven claimants to view compensation as the only viable option? And will you commit to a transparent review of all failed or dormant projects so that communities are no longer forced into accepting land they cannot productively use? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Badenhorst. Your response, please, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. And Honourable, we have been meeting with claimants throughout the country. And as I've said, we put to them all the options. So nobody is forcing a claimant to go for land or to go for money. They do not accept money because of the failures of government. They accept money because they need money at that particular time. But it is our responsibility also to teach them that, no, it is better to accept land than money. Because if you accept land, you opt for land, not money, chances are that you may even get a grant and then work that particular land. And if you opt for money, you will only get money and use the money, and after 30 days, you don't have money and you don't have land. So it is only where the land is not restorable that we persuade them that you must take financial compensation here. For example, a community in Limpopo is claiming University of Limpopo. Now, we are saying to them, we can give you the land, 75% of the land, but 25% where there is university, we must give you financial compensation because giving you the university is not going to happen. It is not restorable. And that community is agreeing with us. So it is only when we see that in this particular land to date there's an hospital. What is the community going to do with the hospital? Then we tell them that in this case, this is your land. We don't dispute that, but let's give you financial compensation because your land is non-restorable. Otherwise, we don't force them. It is within the law that they must take an option, and the option they choose, we must respect it. Thank you very much, Honourable Chair.
Thank you, Minister. The next supplementary question is from Honourable Xeza.
Thank you very much, Chair. Minister, when will you and your department stop hiding behind delays and ensure that claimants actually get their land back instead of being bought with money? Thank you.
Direct question. Thank you, Honourable Xeza. Let's, if I can ask you to respond to that, please, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair. Honourable Xeza knows that he is not telling the truth. We are not forcing people. We are not buying people. People are given options, and out of those options, we respect what they want, and we settle their claims. Thank you, Honourable Chair.
Thank you, Minister. The final supplementary question in this particular round, and the final question for the day, will be from Honourable Farmer.
Thank you, Chairperson. Honourable Minister, given the Constitutional Court stance on restitution, will your department consider hybrid models where claimants receive partial financial compensation and partial land to ensure sustainable redress and economic participation? Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Farmer. And back to you, Minister.
Thank you very much, Honourable Chair, and thank you, Honourable Farmer. Yes, Honourable Farmer, that is what we are doing. We make sure that we give them land, we make sure that we give them the money, we make sure that we give them the land and grant, and then everything that we are given is sustainable. We make sure that, as I've said earlier, we restore the land back to them, but also we are restoring the dignity of our people and addressing the redress, as you correctly put it. And that is what we are working hard to do, Honourable Farmer. Honourable Chair, the land question is a very important matter, and we're taking it very serious. And as a result, we are making sure that we are fast-tracking the pace of land and of land, but we must work within the ambits of the law. And with that, thank you very much, Honourable Chair.
Thank you very much indeed, Minister, and thank you for all of your time spent at the podium and your considered responses and answers to the questions today. Honourable delegates, I'd like to thank the Minister. I'd like to thank the MECs, all permanent and special delegates, and SALGA representatives for availing themselves for the sitting. That closes the business for today and brings the House to adjournment. I thank you all for your attendance. Thank you, honourable members.
Thank you.
Recording stopped.
Long live the chair.
Good afternoon, Ms. Bowers.
We will still have to engage with the chairperson of the subcommittee and staff in there.
Apologies, Mapula. Good afternoon. Oh, okay. Sorry.